All right, here with the homie Tai Lopez, entrepreneur, very successful, but he's also, anybody can get money, anybody can make money, right? But, Gary Busey's rich, right? But what about Gary Busey? But what I admire about you is you're insightful, and you're very intelligent. Tai reads, for those who don't know, Tai, he reads a lot, like we say, a book a day.
I try to read a book a day. Sometimes I read more, but I don't say that because if I say that I read 2 books, people don't already believe 1 book a day. So I'm like, forget it.
2 books a day. So you're a speed reader.
I speed read. I put it. I tell people, Charlie Munger, the billionaire, he's like, you got to put in what he calls assiduity, like put your ass in a chair and study and read. So what I do, it turns out like in a week, there's some days I'll get busy and I'll miss some books, but then I'll make up for it the next day.
Right.
I've done all kinds of experiments. And I tell people like I'm not dumb, but I'm not Albert Einstein.
Right.
So, like Jim Rohn, he was a great kind of motivational coach, and he said, not everybody can be a billionaire, but everybody can do better than they're doing now.
Yeah.
So I tell that with reading. It's like, not everybody can read, just speed read stuff, but if you put in a little time,
you can improve.
Yeah, you can read faster.
Have you ever clocked your reading speed?
Oh man, it depends. So here's the thing with reading, because I made a little course I've given away free. I've done different stuff with this. I call it a smart reading. So why I say smart reading is if you take War and Peace, or if you take a super complicated, important book and you try to speed read it, you're not going to remember anything.
Right.
My main thing is some books are not worth reading every word. The author, think about it. The author, he can't sell the publisher. Yeah. If he only has one good concept, he's going to try to make 500 other pages to sell a book. No one's going to buy a pamphlet. So there's some books that I take a month to read, and there's some books I read in 15 minutes.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like when I wrote, I have 2 books that are best-selling books that have been on Amazon, but they're like about 100 pages.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to cut out all the.
Right.
I didn't need to write.
Just get to the point.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I just wanted to get to the point so it'd be quick reads for people.
I agree.
Did you ever take a speed reading course or anything like that?
I've taken some.
Because that's how I got better at it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I think you should do that at some level. But I'll tell you the other thing. You're a big guy. You work out. My dad over there. My dad was one of the first bodybuilders actually. He's out of Harlem. My dad's
really?
From Harlem. Yeah. But I've got a guy that I just did a big conference. He's a big dude. He's got about 21-inch biceps. He's big. He used to be like some big celebrity, Kim Kardashian bodyguard or one of those people bodyguard. And I was talking to him. I said, "How much can you bench?" And he's 45 now. He can still bench about 500. And I said, "How much did you start with?" And he's like, a bar and stuff. So with reading, people ask me, "How can you read like that?" I'm like, well, it's not that hard. You put in the work. Yeah. You can't get muscle fast. Right. Nobody has gone and put 3 inches of muscle on in a month. But people are impatient when it comes to reading. Your brain is like a muscle too. It's an organ. It's a physical part of your body. And scientists know now that your brain will start rewiring. If you play chess a lot, the part of your brain that's good with chess, it will grow, improve. If you read more, the part of your brain, if you memorize, so you have to have I tell people it's important to have a 6-pack, but you want to have a 6-pack of the mind. A mind 6-pack. Yeah,
listen, guys, you got to have a mental 6-pack.
Exactly. But think about it.
No, I get it. It's awesome.
But think about this. How long, honestly, can you be at the top of your game physically? You can't be Arnold Schwarzenegger at his peak when you're 60.
Nah.
But Warren Buffett is 84, I think, and he's still making billions of dollars. So the 6-pack of the body's good, but you want to bring your brain up. I tell people, bring your body and your brain about the same speed. Don't get completely jacked and you're in shape, and then your brain, you're a moron.
That's the worst.
Because that's what people are doing. Yeah. And you also don't want to bring your brain only up and have no physical fitness. You see that too. You see nerdy guys. Sometimes I was watching like Bill Gates. I look up to those guys sometimes, but I'm like, dude, lift just a little. You can almost pay someone to lift for you. I mean, not literally, but I'm going, you don't want to have only brains. The basic, one of my main messages is, look, we're in the garage. There's a Lamborghini there. I've gone years without cars. I live with the Amish. It's not all about materialistic things, but on the flip side, you can be too unmaterialistic.
Yeah.
I believe that. You have to take care of there's a famous teacher, his name is Hillel, thousands of years ago. He said, if I don't love me, who will? But if I only love myself, what am I? So what he was saying is, if you have no selfish goals, no Lamborghini kind of goals, then who else is going to take care of you? We live in a world where people are like, money's not important. But when they can't pay their bills, they come asking for somebody else to pay their bills.
That's something I wanted to ask you. Like, how important do you think money is, right? Because I always had this theory, like, money's like oxygen. Like, bear with me. Like, you really understand how important it is when you don't have it.
Exactly.
Like, if I suffocate you, then you think about air.
That's all you'll think about. Yeah.
You want to have enough air that you don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
And I feel like money's the same way.
Yes.
I don't know, but I want to get your take on that.
So I agree 100%. And the way I think about it is, and this is why, I talk about not materialistic things, but I'm not afraid of talking about materialism. Some people are afraid of it because they don't want, you get a lot of hate if you talk about materialism.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, life is like juggling, okay? A lot of people are trying to juggle 100 things. You can't juggle 100. Nah. But you have to juggle 4. So I call it simple. It's just beyond, it's not very profound, but it's profound, it's hard to do, which is you have to juggle physical health. I know a guy, billionaire, has a private 747. He's a Queens kind of, or friend of a friend. But he's so out of shape, overweight, that he's literally bedridden. He can't use. So all the money in the world, you wouldn't trade to be that guy because you couldn't use it. It'd just be a number in a bank account. So you have to have physical health to the extent that you have that ability. Everybody's born with different capacity. Number 2, wealth. Health, wealth, love, happiness. So wealth. You can't put your head in the sand.
Is that, are those
are
order?
my 4.
Is that the order?
I think that's the order.
You think that's the order?
And here's why. You could argue that, the reason I put happiness last is because, like Sigmund Freud, the great, founder kind of modern psychology, he said, if you can get those other things right, then you get happiness.
But Freud said that happiness was based on unhappiness, kind of like
it's the contrast.
Right, the contrast. Yeah.
Yes. Well, right. So as you struggle juggling the first 3, you struggle for health, you struggle for wealth, you struggle for love and social life, then the happiness comes from overcoming, and that's the contrast. That's in Civilization is Discontent. That's it's almost my favorite book in the world. It's 130 million books written. That's almost my favorite. I read that one at least once a week. And so,
listen, guys, if you're gonna read that book, most of you should get it on a Kindle so you can.
Yes.
People don't talk like that anymore.
Yes.
And you want to be able to look at the dictionary.
And also start in the second part of it. The first part, skip.
I like the first part.
You like it, but
I
most
like
people,
the first part.
But you're sharper than most people. Like a
You
lot.
heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm serious. Because a lot of people are like, "Tai, you recommended that book, and I couldn't get past the first chapter." I'm like,
I like the first part.
Well, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
if you do. See, that's smart reading. You have to read based on yourself.
You got to read, yeah.
Because some people, this is how I used to be like this. I had a rule that didn't make sense. I must read from here to here. So if I'd read the first chapter, even if I knew there was good stuff in chapter 10, if I couldn't get that first one, I would just get stuck. My thing is, books can be a little bit like dessert. Eat your dessert first. It's not exactly like body. You don't want to do that, obviously, to be in shape. But with books, man, I always go to the best part of it. The only time I won't do that if I'm reading just for pure enjoyment. But if I'm reading for learning, I'm like, life is short.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'll be here an hour. Let me die like a hero with the best stuff going into my brain.
I do the thing where I read the first chapter and the last chapter first of each book. Then I see, all right, is this shit really worth reading?
Yep. That's what in my smart reading thing, I also recommend the jacket of the book where it talks about who the author is.
Right.
And also the table of contents, because it's good also to read about the author, because some books you'll see the author's not that qualified. So that's a book you read a little faster.
Yeah. I in my when I took my speed reading course, that was part of they called that everything but the book.
Exactly.
Yeah, read that part,
Because man, I'll tell you, some people I read their credentials and I'm like, this book I'm gonna read for 30 seconds.
This guy's not qualified.
But I was reading these books. I've been reading Sam Harris.
Yeah.
He wrote The Moral Landscape.
I'm a fan of Sam. Yeah, I like Sam.
Man, that guy, you read his credentials, you read his writing, you're like, this is somebody, he's not perfect. No one's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, but I'm gonna read a little bit more. I was reading Alan Greenspan this morning, the Map and the Territory 2.0. This guy, whether you love him or hate him, he was the head of the U.S. Federal Reserve for years. So this guy knows about money, even if you don't agree with everything. You can't say he's an ignorant.
That's why I hate when people say, "Oh, they want to nitpick the person, right?" Like, you know what I'm saying? They want to nitpick the person. I'm like, I'll read Elizabeth Warren, I'll read Ayn Rand, two totally different philosophies, right? But there's something I know I can learn something. Within each one of those.
That's what I say most of the world of people is zombies chasing mirages. So you don't ever want to be so zombie, meaning this Amish guy told me, Tai, there's 3 types of people in the world. People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, but the largest amount, they wonder what happened. You know, people are going through life not understanding. So that's the zombie. The mirage is don't chase things that don't exist. So if your goal in reading, looking at politics, looking at religion, spirituality is to find people with perfection. You know, I remind people that follow my stuff, I say, listen, I'm just a man. That's it. You're going to find, if you go back through anybody's life and you go through the future, there's going to be things you're going to disagree with. Don't think in logical fallacies, they call that arguing ad hominem. That means you focus on the person, not what they're saying. If a horrible criminal says 1 + 1 is 2, they're right.
It doesn't invalidate the math. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Well, the murderer said that once mathematics is a myth. The murderer said 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm. But you know what? Our brain is built that way. That's called. There's 25 cognitive biases. One of them is called liking bias. So we judge stuff by I like that person.
Right.
I like Oprah. So I'm gonna listen to everything Oprah. And by the way, I think Oprah stuff's awesome. But you still have to understand the fact that no matter how much I like Oprah, it doesn't increase or decrease the chance that she's accurate. So now I tell people in my life the same thing. I don't tell people, I share what I do, which is focus on accuracy. So if I read somebody whose opinion is opposite mine, my mind goes, or I try to put my mind right to a place to go. Is he accurate or is she accurate? That's it. If you can determine that, then you get what you want out of life. Then you'll be healthier. Then people, and we're in bodybuilding world or in the fitness world, people rail on Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you bring up Arnold Schwarzenegger, people say he used steroids, which probably true.
No, he admitted it. Yeah, because it was legal back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't know a lot about it. You know what I'm saying?
He used steroids. He had that affair when he's the governor. But you can't take away from focusing on all the good stuff he did that very few people have ever done.
Exactly.
Focus on that because most people, I always tell that story in the Bible where people, Jesus Christ was brought to a crowd and they said, they were trying to catch him, the religious leaders, and they said, hey, this woman here, we caught her in the act of adultery. What do you think we should do to this woman? And in their law, you were supposed to stone something like that. So they're trying to catch him. So he just said, hey, here's the deal. Everybody can throw stones, and here's how I want to do it. The person here who has no issues, no sin in their life, you begin the stone throwing. Okay. And everybody puts the rock down. Yeah. So when 4 people start on Arnold Schwarzenegger or a politician, Obama, Bill Clinton, I'm like, listen, what's the good stuff you can take? And the philosopher Seneca said, annex it, adopt it into your life. Because if all you do is focus on the negative stuff, you never got anything for yourself. So even if you don't care about it, the morality of being an annoying person that only criticizes, you're not benefiting yourself. Because if you look at Arnold's life and took the 3 best things, what do you think would happen to your health? Just leave out the steroids if you don't like it.
I mean, a lot of people take steroids, but that don't mean they're going to look like Arnold still. It still takes effort. No. You know what I'm saying?
He worked out 6 hours a day.
Exactly. You know what? It works the opposite way too. Like I remember, even a moron might say something.
Exactly.
Elliot, I know you know Elliot Host.
Yes.
I was hanging out with him. He told me a story about when his friends saw one of his friends was hanging out with Richard Branson or something, and some like nutcase came up to them. I don't know where they were, where Derek would have Richard Branson's access, but a crazy person started talking, and then he said something, and then Richard Branson said, "Hold on, say that again," and he pulled out a pen and pad, and wrote it down.
Wow.
So like if Richard Branson's so successful, so
that's humble.
Yeah, it's humble.
It's humble in action.
But he recognized that even this crazy person, has something. So look for the best is what I'm trying to say.
Yep, that's how the way Abraham Lincoln used to say, "I learn everything from every person I meet. I learn something. Just sometimes what I shouldn't do."
Yeah,
you can also learn that. You could go Warren Buffett. Almost my favorite Warren Buffett quote is, people say you only learn from mistakes. That's true, but there's no rule they have to be your mistake.
Yeah,
so you see somebody in a disastrous situation, you go, "You are my mentor."
Right.
You are my don't do that mentor.
Like if you have a bad boss, like that's perfect. That's perfect because now you know how to be a bad boss.
Yes.
So you know what not to do.
Yes.
That's what I tell people when they work for someone who's crazy or something, like, yo, that's how you learn. You're getting a master class of what not to do.
That's actually in logic they call that inversion. So a lot of people say, "What do I have to do to be successful?" And I quote Charlie Munger. He said, "Invert it. What do you have to do to not be successful?" So Charlie Munger says, "Sloth and unreliability. Be lazy and don't show up to stuff." He's like, that is the formula. You will be poor. You will be unhappy. You will have no good friends. And so, when it comes to this mentor, you get mentored by the best. And I call that, I did a TEDx talk.
I saw your TED talk. Yeah, it's
good.
good.
And it's law of 33%. So what I try to do, and it's hard to do exactly, but the spirit of it is you get around 33% of your life should be around people below you in terms of what they've accomplished. Not in their value, but they're coming up.
Right.
You can give them advice, and like you said, those are the people that remind you, "Oh, Tai, keep working hard. You don't want to be falling behind."
Right.
And you can help them come up. Then you need 33% of people on your level. Those are your friends. You know, you have to have. Sometimes if you get successful, you can lose track of the fact you still have to have buddies that you can go watch the game with. You got to be human. But then the last part, 33%, is the mentors that are 20 years ahead of you. Those are the people like, how can I be like that? So you need all of them.
I wanted to ask you about that because I've heard you talk about the law of 30%. Is that your thing?
I got to start trademarking all this stuff.
Yeah, the 33%. Like it's funny because I got an email from some kid who said, "Yeah, I want to start invoking the law of 33%."
Oh, really?
Yeah, can I be one of your interns?
Okay.
And I was like, "Man, I ain't got shit for you to do, man. My operation is very low maintenance. I don't have a lot for you to do." But it was funny because I knew he got that from you. You know what I'm saying? So
cool.
anyway,
Yeah.
I never had mentors, man.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a billionaire or whatever, but I feel like I came from like nothing into a pretty successful. I feel like I'm on my way, right?
Yeah.
In a good spot. But I never had mentors. Like, and
Well, think about it this way. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I did to substitute that was the books, man. That's why I started reading so much.
Books
That's
are mentors, but also think about this. All of us have mentors. So if you know a language, we know English. That if you were born on a desert island, you'd have no ability to speak. You wouldn't speak. You might grunt or whatever. We know some language, but so there's very basic level mentors we've all had. You've learned, and neuroscientists talk about this. We store a lot of things in our brain. Like when you meet another man, don't walk right up to him that close. How'd you learn those social cues? They call those. In a sense, they could be your parents. So even those of us, if you can't overtly say, Warren Buffett says Benjamin Graham taught me. Right. Even if you can't do that to some lesser effect, we all have had something. And like you said, books count.
Yeah, that was my main thing. Like I didn't have, I come from a place where like the most successful people weren't doing stuff that I wanted to get involved with. Right. You know what I'm saying? To the point. So I was like, it was just books, man. Books. Yeah. Like I was just reading.
But that's almost the best mentors because you can also have mentors that are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot have Steve Jobs as your real life mentor. You cannot have Mahatma Gandhi. You can't have Malcolm X. Whoever you want to have, but you can get them through books.
Exactly.
For like $1 if you get them used, and you're in New York, man. They have all those little book stands everywhere. It's awesome.
Yo, this books like I'll be listen in my apartment building. No bullshit. They like people just give out books like in the lobby.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a it's a nice building, so like they give away like free stuff that they don't want anymore. And I'm
That's
like,
cool.
man, I've gotten some really good books from there.
Take them. Be like,
Yeah,
if
man.
nobody wants them, I'll read them.
Yeah, I read them, man. Like some of them are awful, but some of them are great, man. I got one of the books you suggested. Somebody just left it there. What was it? No
Hero.
No Hero. Yeah, man.
That's a good
Yeah,
book.
and then I was like, man,
Maybe. Did you see Sniper, the new movie?
I didn't see it yet.
Oh man, go see Sniper. Were you ever in
American
the military?
Sniper, huh? Nah. I got sent to military school when I was
Really?
I got some trouble in high school, and then my parents sent me to military
that
school.
like?
It was intense. Like that's I was telling one of your friends earlier. That's how I started working out because.
But did you? So you felt like you were helped from it?
Oh,
Mentor.
you know, I don't know
You
if I was.
started working out.
Yeah, but it was different, right? Because they put me there on like some sort of scholarship, right? Some sort of affirmative action
Yeah.
type thing. So I was like one of the only black kids there.
Yeah.
You know, that has its own.
You look Dominican or something. Are you
Yeah,
Dominican?
I don't know. My dad is
Yeah.
an orphan.
Dude, do this new test I'm trying. You spit in a little like a vial. They send it to a laboratory.
Yeah.
It's called, I forget what it is, 23andMe or something, and they'll tell you where they think you. Did you see that?
Nah.
What's that? George Lopez. He had the show with Snoop Dogg and Charles Barkley, and it was like who's more black, who's blacker.
Oh, yeah? And they
yeah,
did that?
and they did the DNA test. I think Snoop Dogg was like. I think Charles Barkley was. Because Snoop Dogg's a lot of Native American.
Oh, really? Yeah. Did you do the test?
I did. It's off. I haven't gotten the results back, but I want to see what I am.
Yo, mine is gonna be crazy. I already know it because my mom's family is mixed black and white, but my dad's an orphan and he could have been anything.
Yeah.
Literally anything.
Is he from New York too?
Nah, he's from Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I had to start working out because I was getting in a lot of fights at school.
Right.
And then there was like more of a defense, and then people stopped.
Yeah.
When I got bigger, people
Yep.
stopped. People look for predators look for prey. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was telling your boy, I call it the, I got my own little crazy philosophies too, man. I call it the lion in the room philosophy, right?
Okay.
Me and you walk into a room and there's a lion in there. He might not be being aggressive. He might be playing with a piece of yarn or just sleeping.
Right.
We're still gonna watch our step. We're gonna
Right.
be cognizant of what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Even if we're like bigger lions. Let's say we were
Right.
big, we wanted to pick a fight. We wouldn't do it with another lion,
Yep.
maybe with a gazelle or
Right,
predators look
exactly.
for prey. So that's when I got bigger. I appeared to at least to be
Yeah.
a more formidable opponent.
Yeah.
Well, stop it. Yeah.
It is, man. You got the thing that I was reading Mike Tyson's. If you haven't read his, that's a crazy. He's from New York. Were you born in Chicago?
I was born in Chicago, man.
But Chicago's a rough place. I would say Chicago's almost rougher than New York.
Yo, I'm Chicago. I mean, I feel so much safer in New York than I did in Chicago.
Yeah,
Like, so
Harlem.
much.
You're like, I go to the.
Oh,
I
man.
moved from Chicago to the nice, safe place. I moved.
Yo,
to
I'm from the South Side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I saw a thing on Chicago. It's just like the war zone, and tell you every time I see that, I'm reminded of this quote from Nelson Mandela. I can't remember exactly, but he said, knowledge or education is what took. He was born in a little village in Africa, and it took him to be one of the most respected leaders, Nobel Prize winning
Right.
stuff. So someday maybe you could do it, man. Someone should go into these places like South Central LA and Chicago. My sister's from the South Bronx.
Okay.
She's still there. You have to. Knowledge is what will take people out of those places. That's it.
Yeah.
Like government is great if you can pull it off, but it's hard to pull off. But what works
It's knowledge.
better is drop knowledge into people's. I tell people,
Yeah.
I don't care if you're the richest, white person or if you are the most poor minority. We know this. My grandma. I'm a half white. My grandma's from Germany. They're
Okay.
like blonde hair, blue eyed. My dad's.
there's
Spain.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was just
my
wondering,
dad's part
German
Puerto-
Lopez's.
Yeah, my dad's from Spain and he's part Puerto Rican, so I'm a little
Okay.
Puerto Rican, a little Spanish, and half white. And my grandma met Hitler when my grandma was born in 1918. She went to a little rally with a friend, and my grandma is very not racist. Let me put it that way.
yeah.
Even though she's like white and she's like, look, and we know this now. The only difference is melanin in your skin.
Right.
The real difference is between individuals.
Yeah.
So between one white guy and another white guy, there can be a lot of difference between one black person and another black. So What you have to, but the problem in these places, it's interesting. The problem in, let's say, the south side of Chicago is the same problem in the Pacific Palisades. I'm up here in the Hollywood Hills. The same problem hurting people's brains here. People aren't continually doubling down on their brain. And you can do that in the ghetto. You can do that in Haiti. You can do that in Pakistan. You can do that in the poorest place. For the most part, you can get some book, and there's a good book, Conrad Hilton. You know Hilton Hotels?
Yeah.
He was going through the Depression. So the 1929,
this
this Depression
that,
was bad. People were almost starving to death. That hasn't happened in America in a long time. And he picked up a book by Helen Keller that was on his mom's table. And he opened it, he was 15, and it said that even though Helen Keller, she was blind, deaf, mute, she had optimism. And that changed his life because that book, he doubled down, it went into his brain. You can never, as long as you don't get hit on the head with it or motorcycle crash, stuff in your head will stick there. And that took him from depression and having nothing. He actually lost almost everything to, owning the biggest billion-dollar business. So
that's interesting, right? Because, all right, I think from growing up in those environments, right? Yep. I think the biggest issue is education, but it's also hopelessness.
Yeah,
that's just like you feel it. Like I know those kids. Like when I go back, like my nephew's still there, and when I go back, I know those kids don't grow up to think they can run a hedge fund or it's like. But when I got sent to military school, I would see like the other kids. Their parents, they were rich, because I was there on some kind of like.
So you saw the potential.
I saw like, whoa, wait a minute, this is real.
And that's also that's what I call mentors. So you saw it.
Yeah.
See, I'll tell you one of the problems, and this is not just in any area. This isn't just South Central. I was born in Long Beach, which is like Compton, Long Beach. That's not a nice part.
That's where Snoop is from.
Long Beach is not a nice place. Trust me. Places you don't want to be. Yeah, my dad was in prison when I was born. I was supposed to be born in New York. He got put in prison in an island. He was in like the mall. My dad in New York. I'm not involved at all in that.
Right.
People, no, he was involved.
That's what everybody's gonna say.
No, I'm not.
That's you got the Lamborghini.
My mom took me away when I was 2, so I didn't even see my dad. No. He wasn't like that. My dad was from, New York in the 40s. Everybody was someone time, but he was not a mobster like God. He was more just caught up and drug dealing and stuff like that. That's what he went. He went for selling. FBI came because he's selling drugs across different states. That's why I never got into drugs, man. That was the one thing I stayed away. I was like, I don't want to be. Yeah. My mom's like, stay away. You don't want to be. But the point being, in all those places, one of the big problems, building on what you're talking about, is the mentors that people look up to.
Yeah.
Are musicians, and the musicians and the athletes.
Right.
I don't think all of them, and I don't want to be moralistic because I'm not a moral figure, but I'm thinking, do a little better. I mean, come on. If you wanna, why not? What if someone like Jay-Z or Kanye or one of these people would hold up a book and be like, "You have to read this."
Yeah.
Like in a hip hop video or in a whatever. I'm not even picking on hip hop.
Yeah.
Any genre. Kim Kardashian, Lady Gaga, because you have power over people's minds.
People look up. Yeah. People look up to them.
And you could also, I was doing the math. I know how these publishers are. Look, you could take a book, go to the printer and say, we're going to start a charity. And they could print those books. You could get the rights for under $1 is my guess. So you get Jay-Z. I'm not going to pick on Jay-Z. You just get all these people together and say, look, we're talking about how the government's not fair to minorities and poor people. And there's truth to that. I'm not going to lie. But in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey says, do what's in your own control. Yeah. I can't do anything about Obama or George Bush. I mean, I can vote every 4 years. But you know what you can do? If you're one of these people, take $1 million, cut a deal with the publisher, get 1 million copies printed.
Yeah.
Then cut a deal with the post office. They would do this. Cheap shipping. So you get a charity, $5 million, drop 1 million books into people's hands. Now, you might
It
say,
could be cheaper than that, man. You could just get you can get something that's in public domain, man. You can get
Yeah,
meditations,
exactly.
Marcus Aurelius or something. You know what I'm saying? And just say, hey, this is the Kanye's
Right.
Marcus Aurelius meditations, and email it to everybody, PDF.
And the key though is if you just, because a critic of this idea would say, well, they're not going to read, or some people don't even know how to read. There's truth to that. But they've done studies in really poor areas of India, I've been to India. People starve to death. It's even more poor. The United States has real poverty. India's on a whole nother planet.
Yeah.
I was in India and I walked into a hotel. We were staying. It's hard to give money to beggars because there's so many and they'll come. And so I didn't give money to a guy. I came back out in the morning. He was dead, starved to death. So I've seen real poverty. So in India, they've found if you incentivize people, they'll learn to read. So the problem in the world now is parents are just going read and teachers are going to read. Nobody listens to their parents like that. You have to lead by reward. So people give me flack for having the Lamborghini. And I agree that it can come off as a douchey thing. But I'll tell you this. I know this almost for a fact. There's not a person on the planet right now that's getting more people who have never read a book than what I'm doing. And it's not because I'm special, because I'm not. It's because I understand if you show people the Lamborghini first,
Right.
and then people go, how can I get that? You go, well, you better read. Then people go, well, that's better than just my mom who's never been successful, or my dad or my teacher going, read. No one wants to be lectured. People want to be led. And I'm not the leader, and we're not the leader. I mean, you might be the leader, but I see myself as just a catalyst. Look, if you're in horrible position, start with one book. And that's how you, and when you don't want to read, just remember the reward. What's the reward? Okay, not everybody's going to be a millionaire. Not everybody's going to be a billionaire. You don't even need that. Daniel Kahneman won a Nobel Prize, and he said, if everybody can make $75,000, you'll optimize happiness right there. Yeah. I mean, you get more happiness somewhat, he says, as you go up, but not necessarily as much as you think. So if you're in the worst situation, I say there's a pyramid. So there's 5 levels of financial position you can have. Level 1 is Donald Trump debt. One point Donald Trump was 9.2 billion in debt. So a lot of people are in debt, college debt, credit card debt. So if you're there, you want to try to at least get to the next one. The next one's not that good. It's scarcity. It's where you're making less than 75. And that will not be a happy place. Those first 2. So if you're in those 2, you got to try to move one more, which is financial independence. That's like get to 75 to 125 grand. If you're in a horrible position and you go, Tai, that sounds, I mean.
You said that's 75 to 105? That's in your estimation?
75 to, let's say, 125.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of like 6 to 10 grand a month.
Okay.
In most countries. Some countries you don't need that. Some cities you need a little less. Now, some people go, that sounds outside of my thing. I mean, I remember there was a time I had nothing. $47 in my bank account. I was sleeping on a couch in a mobile home in Clayton, North Carolina.
You can get there, man. I was sleeping in my car. And like, I've been, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can do it if you put in the effort. You know what I'm saying? But
you got to have the effort, and you have to, I say you have 3 things you have to understand to move up this triangle. So number 1 is you have to understand investment. So what does investment mean? I'm not talking about stock market company. You have to understand the definition of investment is sometimes I do stuff that doesn't pay off right now, but pays off later. So if everything you do only pays off, I'm going to eat this burger because it tastes good now. I'm going to buy these new clothes right now because it makes, if that's okay to do that somewhat. But if your life is dominated by that, you're not an investor.
Things that are good for you now are usually bad for you in the long term, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Sometimes
saying?
though, like you could get good food that's good now, and
depends. Yeah. I mean,
but
there's
I know what you're saying. A
yeah.
lot of stuff, especially stuff that's marketed to you.
Yeah.
Like if you make your own food, you can have good food now. But if you're buying stuff, they're trying to make money.
They're trying to, they're trying to, the reward system, the dopamine,
reward,
all
the
that.
consumer. So the second thing you have to do is people have to understand insurance. And I'm not just talking about life insurance or health insurance. I'm saying you have to protect what you already have. So some people, like Warren Buffett says, you only have to get rich once. So when you do well and you make money, have insurance by save some of it for a rainy day. That's insurance.
I did a video on that. Like that was the most important. Because there was a few times in my life where I got like really, I would say really high up your pyramid, you know,
Right.
and then fell back.
Yep.
And I fell back. I did a video of it. Maybe I'll put a link in it in the description. 3 times I went like way up the
Yep.
pyramid and fell back because
Yep.
I didn't.
Insurance. Well, now you can tell people and Mark Cuban, who became a billionaire, he owns the Dallas Mavericks and different stuff. He sold a company, like a sports radio program, and he was paid in
Broadcasting.com.
shares of Yahoo.
Oh.
And they paid him all these shares, which were worth a lot of money at the time. But shares can go up and down. So he had one mentor, a financial advisor, who said, "No, listen, you should buy insurance on this." So there's a way to do that with stock options. And sure enough, those shares of Yahoo he had been paid in dropped to almost worthless. But he had locked in the value with insurance, so he's still the billionaire we know now. So lock in what you have. And then the last one, though, is the hardest. This is what people get wrong. I mean, they're all hard. There's a good book on self-made billionaires. It's a research book. And not everybody needs to be a billionaire, but you can take principles. He says, the 2 authors from Price Cooper Waterhouse, they said, people who are successful have extraordinary imaginative vision. And Elon Musk calls it a more complicated term, which is arguing from first causes, not analogy. So here's what arguing from analogy or not having extraordinary imaginative vision. Let's say you're in a horrible place. You were sleeping in your car.
Yeah.
I was sleeping on a couch. Someone born in ghetto. Someone born in poor part of India. If you argue from arguing from analogy means, well, everybody around me is doing bad.
Right.
I'm doing bad. Therefore, I'm going to always do bad. That's arguing from analogy, and that's not having imaginative vision. The people who make it are the people who do the opposite. They go, I'm going to argue from first causes. I'm going to say, has anybody ever risen up from the ashes out of the ghetto or from the couch or from the car? The answer is we all know that story. So if somebody else did it, then if you use extraordinary creative imagination, then why can't you do it too? And that's arguing from first causes. That's what allowed Elon Musk to make Tesla, spaceships, Solar City. So for all of us, we get stuck when we argue from analogy. Well, last time I started a business, it failed. Mm-hmm. Last time I trusted somebody, they betrayed me. Well, that's good. That's arguing from analogy. That's just saying because it happened before, it's going to happen. It doesn't always work that way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you do it better. You double down on your brain. You learn from the mistakes of others and your mistakes. And the next thing, you create something new. And that's where wealth comes from. Not just wealth in your bank account. Wealth of happiness, love, health, everything you want.
What's the top of that your pyramid?
Oh, so then you go Virgo. Virgo's like money. We're not talking about astrology. Virgo's not gonna let you be like, wait a sec. I don't
Yo, how I
want
get
to
to the top of the pyramid though? Yo, I ain't trying to hear about spaceships and Elon Musk. How I get to the top of the pyramid?
We want get to the point, Ty. Get to the point. So after you have financial independence, the next level, and these are kind of made up. It's not exact words. I call it prosperity. So prosperity, it's like 150 to a million. Then above that, and the final high level, is wealth and impact. And so if you can make more than $1 million a year, you start being able to do things that's like, not only are you prosperous and life is going great and there's abundance around you, but now you can have impact. Bill Gates is like, I'm going to try to get rid of malaria and smallpox.
Right.
Don't try to go too fast up those. I tell people, Charlie Munger, I love it. Step by step, you get ahead, not necessarily in fast spurts. But you build discipline by preparing for the fast spurts. So you don't want to go too fast or too slow.
Yo, I'm always like slow down. Like, because people always want to, everybody wants everything fast,
Yes.
I was telling your boys earlier, man, like people want to work out fast, so it's steroids. I'm like, that's not the right way. They do something, or they lift too much, they might hurt themselves. Or it's like I was talking to one of my business partners, and he was talking about getting an investment, like an investor, or like. So I'm like, listen, man, we're new in this marketplace. So right now we're still making $5,000 mistakes, $10,000 mistakes. We don't want to start making $100,000 mistakes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, go slow. Sometimes slower is better.
I once made a $28 million mistake. Had I not, the way I say it is, I didn't do something and we made money and we left on the table.
Oh, you
we
left
calculate.
money.
But that's the same
so
as
it's
losing
right there.
money. That's the same as
Yeah.
if you could have made a right turn on the fork and had a chest of $28 million put in your bank account. The left, you made less than $28 million less. That's the same as losing it.
Make your mistakes before they're so detrimental. You know
Exactly.
what I'm
Or
saying?
they have disaster. That's what I'm saying. That's where you learn from other. I like your approach. Look, people ask me how to start a business. You know, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, since I was 18. And I said, well, the first business I started was with my mentor, Joel Salatin. He invested about $60,000. It was a farm. I lived on a farm at the time. And my profit after 1 year of hard work was $12,000 bucks.
Okay.
I took that $12,000. I doubled down. I flew around the world. I found mentors. Started my next little business, was a consulting company. From there, I made $10,000 in 1 week from that. So then you take that and you just double it down. It's just like poker. Playing poker, something's winning.
Yeah.
You double down and bet more on that
Yeah,
hand. If you get dealt, if that hand isn't working, and you can't believe how many people and how many times in my own life, even like supposedly I'm the one talking about it, man, I'll take things losing and do them more and more, and things that are winning, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll do more of that later.
Yeah.
No, do more. If you're, I tell people who are internet
More.
marketers
Yeah.
or doing YouTube, if you're doing 1 video a month and people like it, do 1 a week. If
Yeah.
you're doing 1 a week, do 1 twice a week. Like, just now, sometimes you double it, it gets a marginal.
There's a point of
return.
diminishing returns.
Exactly.
There's a point of
but find
You
it.
got to find that point,
Yeah,
right?
some people don't even find it. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
So if you're, whatever. So I like that approach you're saying. We're already making $5,000 mistakes.
Yeah,
So we want to cut those. So we don't want to get in a position of doubling down on
Exactly.
mistakes.
Yeah, because you learn in that process of moving
Yes.
slow. You know what I'm saying? Like if you, like right now, like most people, if you gave them $1 million, just gave it to them, they would literally ruin their life with that $1 million. They would be in a worse position with the debt they get into because they don't understand money. But if somebody works their way up to that,
Yes.
if you give somebody $100,000, they might fucking ruin their life
Yes.
because they use that to buy a car or something. And now they have more debt or a big house and they don't have the experience.
Yep.
They don't know what it means. Or it's just like, I know a girl. All right, here's a good example. This girl I know, she got a big boob job, right? And like she wasn't ready for that instant.
Right.
Everything changed. Her world
Everybody-
changed immediately. She was not worried.
Yeah.
She was not accustomed to the attention that she got, and it was a drastic change immediately. That's not always a good thing. A drastic change immediately. You might want to just
Well,
take
you don't
your
have time.
man.
You don't have time to learn the ropes.
Yeah.
And for sure, I say one of my mentors told me, he was like, Tai, the other thing that can happen, he said, be careful of making money too fast. Specifically, because what happens is, let's say you just try an experiment. Your heart's not really in it, but all of a sudden you make $1 million. Now you're not going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And now the next year of your life, and you see this, with people who have jobs they hate. If you happen to make too much money in a job you hate too fast, you're never going to leave it. So
Golden handcuffs.
the golden handcuffs, not the ones you want. So what you really want is, what I tell people is, look, I can tell you this. Science, the smartest guys, I'm not talking about pseudoscience, I'm talking the highest level scientists in the world say the way our brain works, and Daniel Kahneman, this is a guy who won a Nobel Prize, he says, we have what's called contrast bias. So who do you think would be happier? A man or a woman who makes $1 million 1 year, and the next year makes 500,000. So they drop. Something goes wrong. They only make 5. Or somebody who was making 50 and now jumped to 100. It's the person who went up, because they're like, man, the contrast in their brain. But the person who had $1 million and went down still making a lot more money.
Right.
But they don't feel like it. So if you can just every day go to bed a little bit smarter, every day get better at social life, like reading people, understanding, if you can get a little better in business and finance, but not in huge spurts.
Not in a huge space. It's like everybody wants to think so fast. You don't want to, like, if you were coaching a football game, you wouldn't throw a Hail Mary on the first play of the game, right? Hail Mary is literally a desperation move. Yes. Like you go for those big plays. That's reserved for desperation.
Yep.
You take your time, move up the field, get some good field position.
Yes.
Life field position. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you play baseball, if you can just have a lot of base hits.
Yeah.
if you hit a lot of base hits, you'll keep scoring.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what you won't do, and this is there's good science on this. I think there's a book, Top Dog, by scientist Poe Bronson. He says when you succeed, okay, your brain literally creates more dopamine receptors.
Oh yeah.
So these receptors sit there, and they're the ones that experience the pleasure of success in your brain. When you start winning a lot, even if it's little wins, got first base, your brain makes more. So now you become more ambitious, more optimistic, and you literally, a person with more dopamine receptors in their brain, according to this book, that is a person who's expecting success, will try harder, will stick with it, so more likely to be successful.
Right.
If you fail a lot, because you're always, like you said, trying to throw a Hail Mary, you're always trying to hit a home run hit, you're more likely to fail. Your dopamine receptors will start disappearing, which will make you more pessimistic, more depressed, less likely, and inevitably poorer.
Yeah, and those are desperation moves. That's like, oh man, let's try to make $1 million today. Let's rob a bank. You know, like those are desperation moves, man. Make it slow. It's
just don't go backwards. That's the key. I would rather just go make 100 grand, 110 grand, 120. I know it sounds like it's not, but science have put people under brain scanners. They can see. If you jump around, I mean, what will happen realistically is if you plan for that, every once in a while, you'll get a big spike, and then sometimes you get little drops. But if the general graph of your life is on the rise, what you don't want is a life like this. Most people have. Then they come out of it, they kind of pull out of it, and then they up, and then like that stuff ruins happiness. You might as well be poor the rest of your life.
Because it's like you're just going up, like...
Yeah, the brain, it's literally a physical, biological reason. Your brain can't handle that.
I read a study, like they would randomly reward mice and then randomly punish them with no
order or whatever.
Those fucking mice went crazy.
Yeah.
They went fucking crazy.
People, you'll go crazy. It's just go to bed a little smarter, a little better shape, a little happier, a little better friendships. You'll be good. Unless you're 95, listen to this. And even then, if you're already 95 and you don't have them, you still can't rush it. Mother Nature doesn't care about your age. She doesn't go, oh, well, this person's 50 trying to start to make money.
Yeah.
We're going to break all our laws. And we're just going to give them money at 50. We're going to go, oh, you're 50 and just learning it? Well, we're going to give you a pat on the back. No. You got to put in the time.
Yeah.
You know that with working out. There's nobody that's walked into a gym overweight and walked out in shape.
You got to remember, it took you a long time to get out of shape.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That's what my mom said. People go out, do things wrong for 20 years and expect to be taken out in 20 days. And I'm like, no.
It took you a long time to get into debt.
Exactly.
Right? You didn't get all that debt overnight. I mean, maybe some of the debt was overnight.
Well, bad financial mindsets are built over time.
Yeah. Let me ask more about that. Like this might help a lot of people. Like for some people, like they might not be able to say they can have like your house and this might not be realistic for them. Like right where they're at right now, where they're thinking, you know, Lamborghini, house in Hollywood Hills or whatever. But what's helped me a lot, man, was actually instead of being so focused on making more money, is to cut the expenses.
Right.
That gets you to that financial independence. Like me, man, like it's almost like with working out. Like if you're trying to lose fat, instead of trying to burn it all off, it's easier to just eat less food, to consume less calories.
Right. Instead of just trying to do sit-ups.
It's way
trying to
Right, because 100 you can run a mile, you only burn like 100 calories.
Yeah.
It's easier to just eat less.
Eat less than 100 calories. Yeah.
For me, so it's easy for me. When I first found, I found this a few years ago, it's easy for me to be less of a consumer.
That's right.
Stay out of to keep my expenses lower.
Yeah. Well, what I would say, and also, it's keep expenses lower, but that sometimes can bite you in the butt. So what you want to do, like you said, keep what I call RRD, rust, rot, depreciate expenses low. So things that don't have the ability to pay you more later. So if your expenses are buying 100 books a month and that's costing you $1,000, cut that expense last. Because that one has the potential to make you $1 million.
Exactly.
But, there's some things that will never make you more. And when I was about 19 or 20, one of my mentors is a guy named Dr. Gordon Hazard. He's one of the richest guys in Mississippi. And he has an old pickup truck. but he owns a lot of land and is a farmer. And I was driving, and he said, "Ty, you see all this? You see all that land out there?" He said, "Every day I go to bed and I wake up, and land value per acre has gone up just a little bit." He said, "I woke up a little richer than I was because it appreciated." He said, "You see all these cows eating grass every day? The sun shines, the rain falls, the grass grows. The cows eat the grass and way more, and I sell them by the pound. So every day I'm a little wealthier. The cow's value went up. It appreciated."
It's compound interest, man.
And he said, "That's how you make wealth." He said, "What you don't do," he said, "this old pickup truck, the only things that I own that go down in value," he said, "is this pickup truck, a shovel, and a hammer." And he said, "If times get tough, I'll sell the hammer."
Yeah.
Like, get rid of this stuff. So if times get tough, if you need more money, walk. I just went, before I got this Lamborghini, because I don't like to get too materialistic, I just decided, I sold, I had a Maserati and a Ferrari before. I just sold them because I didn't want to get too attached to things. I went 2 years with no car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I would Uber or taxi or get a ride. I'm fine. My life now, even though when you have a Lamborghini, it's not like my trajectory of happiness now is way high. It's cool. I like fast cars.
You get your dopamine rush from buying it and going.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's not. So
that's not a permanent happiness.
Yeah,
thing.
so I'm saying, if you have a car and the payment's too much, sell it and get a bike.
You know what? I had cars in New York, right? I mean, it wasn't a Maserati, but it was convenient to have a car. But I had to pay for parking. I was getting tickets, insurance, and it was just so much of a burden.
Yeah.
Right. Even if it was a really nice car, it was such a weight off, just a mental weight off my shoulder to get rid of. Now I just Uber and Subway everywhere Subway. I go. Yeah.
And you walk more. So some of these things you're even better off. I mean, a car in LA you need a little more because it's not so close together.
Yeah.
But again, what I'm saying is, Joel Salatin used to tell me, my first mentor, he said, "Ty, a man can do anything as long as it's not forever." So I had one of my brothers, I have 6 brothers, and he was complaining. He's like, "I'm not making enough money," but he wasn't making that much money because he didn't know much. He didn't have much skill.
Right.
So I'm like, even though you're my brother, he would working for me. I'm not going to pay you more to get more skill. So he said, "How am I going to live here? I'm going to not be able to pay rent." I said, "Listen, you're 6'1", 200-pound guy. This is Hollywood. Nothing's rough on the streets here. You go sleep on the streets for a week, it'll be a cool story. This month, you can go, if you're homeless in LA, it's a nice place. You go to the beach. People give you food." I said, if you have to, I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, but toughen up a little bit. You'll be fine. Like people, Seneca says, in our fears, we act mortal. People go, "What if I don't pay?" I'm like, this is not India. And if you're watching this India, you might have to discard. You probably won't starve to death.
Sorry, Indians.
Yeah, you probably, if you're a kid and it's outside your control and you're 5, maybe you can't listen. But if you're an adult, don't be afraid of every ghost, every shadow that doesn't exist. What you should be afraid of is living a crappy life. And people don't, that's why Seneca 2,000 years ago said, people in their fears act mortal. They're scared of the dark. Oh, what's that noise? But he said in their desires, they act immortal. People are like, "Yeah, Ty, in 20 years, I'm going to be successful." I'm like, "Well, what'd you do today?" "Nothing." Oh. I'm like, "You're acting like you have all the time in the world."
Yo, that's what I'm saying. You know what's funny? That reminds me of, did you watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
All right, so Pete Carroll, he said they threw that interception on 2nd down, right? And at the end, Pete Carroll said, This is a lesson. This is a life lesson. He said, "We thought we could waste the play."
Wow.
You don't know you're gonna get another play. You don't know you're gonna get another play.
When they dropped back in the pocket, I yelled in the room, "Do not pass!" See, double down on what works.
Yeah.
The guy had his name was running. They had a Matt Drink. I'm like, "Give him the ball. Try one more time." Well, here's the thing.
You don't know you're going to get another play.
You don't. Exactly. I like that. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Life's like a parachute jump. You get one try." You don't mess up a parachute jump. You will be splattered. There's no, I'm going to go back up. No. Pull the chute at the right time.
Exactly.
And hold on and hope if there's no parachute, you got an emergency one.
Yeah. Did your brother sleep on the street?
No, that thought got him in gear, and he figured out how to make more money.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You call people's bluff. It's like, "Okay, you're so worried about that, go ahead and do it." And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna work a little harder."
Do you think being poor made you tougher?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the most part. One of the things when I was sleeping on that couch, Tony Robb, my mom gave me a book, had randomly given me a book, Tony Robb.
Which one?
I think it was his first one.
Limited Power or
No,
Awaken the Giant?
Awaken the Giant.
Yo, that's
a great book.
that book changed my life. That
Yeah.
was the first. That's what
I
got
like
me
Tony
put me on
Robbins.
on my path.
And I remember, I don't know if it was there or somewhere else, he said, when you succeed, you party most of the time. But when you fail, you ponder. And when you start thinking about your life, that's why one of the biggest problems, if you're watching this, and one of the biggest problems in my life is being what scientists call pain avoiding delusion. It's when you go, well, the reason I'm fat, it's because my mom never gave me enough hugs and the government doesn't care about me. The government doesn't care about you. So the delusion is not looking yourself in the mirror and go, you know what? I never exercise and I don't eat right. So that's why I'm fat. If you see yourself broke, go, I'm not going to delude myself. I'm not going to go, well, it's only Bill Gates. Oh, he stole his money. No, he didn't steal his money. He worked from age 20 to age 30 and never took one day off. Mm-hmm. So have you put in 3,650 days? Now, I'm not saying all people who are alive, if you're born with no diseases, you've had some luck. Of course, I don't know why people bring that up. If you're watching this, that means you're wealthy enough to have access to electricity and electronics. So don't lecture Bill Gates on his luck. You had it too. Don't be delusional. Go. Just like they do in the 12
but he put in that work though. Like even if he was luck is not a strategy. He put in a lot of work.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And you hope the gods are on your side too.
Yeah.
Like you can do everything right and you can get hit by a car. But assuming that doesn't happen, then it's like the 12-step program. If you're an alcoholic, they don't let you in if you don't admit you have a problem. That's the first one. Read the 12 steps. So if you come in there and go, the reason I drink is just because the government allows alcohol to be sold in liquor stores too much, you're out.
Yeah, man.
So look at I tell people, do an audit. I'll leave this as like a practical thing that I try to do fairly often. Go in front of the mirror with no clothes on, just with yourself. Look in there and go, would I be attracted to this person if it was on the other end? If the answer is no, and I'm not in perfect shape, you're in a lot better shape, but I still don't delude myself and go, oh, it doesn't matter. Fat is beautiful. Obese is not beautiful for yourself. Forget about society and magazines. You don't want to be obese because you're going to die more likely. So look in the mirror and go, you know what? This is not the place I should be. Don't freak out, but just immediately. Don't make a New Year's resolution. When people tell me about their 10-year goals, I'm like, that's the goal you're never going to do. Tell me about your 10-minute goals. So if you look yourself in the mirror and you're not and then go to your bank account, log in. Everybody can log in pretty much now. You look at that number. You look at your expenses. This is a horrible number. Don't start talking about capitalism. Just go, am I maximizing what do I even know anything about money? Well, if you don't know anything about money, you're going to be poor. Do that with your friends. Look at your social life. If you have don't go, well, there's no good people left in the world. There are. You just don't know how to find them.
Listen, and don't fucking worry about that. Like the government, other people.
Yes.
Like what did Marcus Aurelius say? You don't control circumstances around. You can't control outside circumstances or other people. But once you realize that, you can only control your strength.
Yep.
And that's where you don't control yourself, and that's where strength comes from.
Yep.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he meant.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book sold millions because Stephen Covey said, what's in your control? Now, there are things eventually that we need activists and we need this, but if you're not doing anything yourself, how are you going to even lead?
Yeah.
You got to lead by example. So all these people that are like pointing their fingers and saying, well, control yourself. There's a good book by Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself. And he says, throughout the history, there have been Mozarts and Leonardo da Vinci's, and what they had in common was they managed themselves. So you can point the finger at other people, but make sure you're like, well, that person isn't doing what I like. But then ask yourself, are you even doing what you like? You cannot be pointing fingers. If you can't ever do a sit-up and you can't ever control what you eat, don't start lamenting the government because the government's made up of people.
Yeah.
Just like you.
It's everyone else's fault.
Yeah. No, that's all horrible. That's called, Martin Seligman is a researcher. It's called learned helplessness.
Learned helplessness, yeah.
You can't be helpless. Even the person, look at Helen Keller. If anybody could have whined about life, about 19 months old, she got a real high fever. It was like spinal meningitis or something like that. And she lost her sight. she lost her ability to communicate verbally and her hearing. And she really went through a hard time, she said, because she went from vision to nothing, darkness. And at some point she came out of the darkness, she said, and realized, I'm just going to do what I can. Look, every time I think I've ever done something worth living, I'm like, this lady can't see, can't speak, and she's written more books than any of my, me and any of my friends. So I'm like, get it in gear, Ty.
Most of the time, with this is exceptions, but for the most part, man, if you're watching, somebody has less than you and has done more than what you've done.
Yeah.
Someone has done more with less.
Yeah.
And I try to keep that all in mind. It was like, when I start thinking, man, if only I had this, or if I had this, somebody has had less than me and has done more. You know
Optimize yourself. That's you. The only person in the world who has 100% of your own genes and DNA is you. Your mom has 50%. Your dad has 50%. Hopefully, if he's your dad.
Some guy. Some guys got 50%.
Somehow
one of these guys.
But that means they're more invested in themselves than you. People are mad about their mom not taking care of them. I'm like, well, it's sad. I wish the world wasn't like that, but it's realistic that it's going to happen again too. So what you can control, you love yourself, and then you'll have the ability to love the world and do big things. Be half selfish with your life, half unselfish. It seems pretty fair. 50-50 is a good, fair number.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Since you got the Lamborghini, man, how have women responded to that? Or have they at all?
I don't show it off too much, but it's kind of like you were saying when you walk in a room and you're the biggest lion in there. People notice.
People notice it, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it can work against you because you attract the wrong people. Just like if you're the biggest guy in the room, sometimes that means you go to prison and you're the biggest dude, then all the other biggest dudes are like, we got to challenge this guy.
This is the guy. This is
not
how you prove you're tough. Right,
yeah. Sometimes I was driving, I picked up Dr. David Buss. I did a big mentor conference. I'll have to invite you to come to the next one.
You know what? Cool. It was too close to this LA trip.
Yeah.
If it was like,
I'm planning to do more.
Yeah, let me know, man.
So I picked him up and I was telling him, Lamborghini is pretty much the king of the road. So we were driving and I was showing him, people get out. You don't even have to be annoying. People move out of the way. It's weird.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was the funniest thing. We pulled up. I had to pick him up and he was at a different spot. So how normally at the park at the airport, the guy comes and makes you move?
Yeah.
So I had to pull over, and the guy I was picking up came, and I said, watch this. It's weird. People won't mess with you. Even the police guy. So right when I said that, one of the guys started walking over. So I was like, damn, my theory I was just bragging about doesn't work. The guy comes up, the attendant, who's the guy that says leave, and he goes, hey, man, can I get a selfie in this thing? So the dude that was supposed to be like protect. But here's it gets more interesting. So we're driving. So I was like, it's a thing like big muscles. And but then we got near my house, and I live near Beverly Hills. We're going through Beverly Hills, and a Ferrari, a brand new one, pulled up. And I said, watch this. This guy's not going to back down. So he pulled a little ahead of me. Okay, just naturally we're driving. We weren't driving fast. And I said, watch this. I'm going to try to get up to him. And wherever I tried to get up, he would just pull ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's a lot of science on this. The social brain of people, it tries to gauge, where am I? So,
right, where you on the totem pole.
Yeah, it's not as important. Here's the thing about conspicuous consumption. Don't buy stuff to show off because I pretty much live my life by facts, or I try to, as best we know them. You don't always know. But scientists say if you live to just show off. So, if you meet a girl, if you're a guy, right? Or a girl, whatever. You meet a girl and you're like, I don't really like this girl, but I'm going to date her because all my friends are going to be like, how'd you get that girl? Because we've all done that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Scientists say you won't really like it that much. Yeah. You'll like showing off, but then when you're back with this girl who you're not really attracted, because you can not be attracted to a beautiful girl. She's not your type.
Just because here's the thing, man, these hot chicks, you still got to talk to them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She's boring. So what you have to do is, the hope is that you meet a beautiful woman who you would date even if you could never show off. Right. Because then you get the best. Yeah. Then people see the girl. Right. And you enjoy being with her. It's the same with Lamborghini. So I try to test myself, Ty. If you were the only man on the planet okay, you weren't trying to show off, because showing off, it doesn't make you as happy as you think. So would I? Absolutely. First place I would go if I was the last. There's a nuclear bomb and it's like Will Smith. I'm the last dude on the planet. I would go to a Lamborghini dealership because they're fun to drive. So that's a valid. You date a girl or you marry somebody because you like them and they like you, and if they happen to be awesome, then that's a side benefit to show off.
Right.
But don't do. I mean, it really. I've tried it. It
man,
doesn't work.
It's son. Yeah. Listen. It's one of the worst moves you can make to just because she's hot. But if you don't, if you can't like hold a conversation with her,
Yep.
Because I mean, you're gonna have to talk to her at some point.
Exactly. It's the same. I'm sure you found it with working out. You should work out because you like being in shape. Mm-hmm. If your only goal is to be able to walk around and flex, that's not it. And also, you won't have the perseverance to stick with it.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, he liked working out. He liked to show off. I think he admitted that. But he was working out when he lived in Austria in little villages before he was on TV and movies. So that's why I said you got to have at least 50-50 reasons.
How do women respond? You dodged the question.
So it's interesting. Some girls don't even know what a Lamborghini is. It's weird.
You're lying.
So actually, guys pay a heck of a lot more attention.
That's how it is with muscles, bro.
I know. That's what I say. It's annoying.
That's how it is with muscles or a six-pack.
Guys are like, let me get big muscles, and I'm like, a lot of girls don't even like big muscles.
Girls don't give a.
And some girls like.
Girls
if you look at the guys that girls like the most, like Adam Levine or whatever, they're skinny.
Yeah.
So it's the same with cars. One thing that happens is you attract. Sometimes you'll get these girls that are horrible, and they come out of the woodwork because they're like, Lamborghini, what can I get? So. Don't get a Lamborghini for girls. Don't get it for guys. Get it because you like to drive it.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's interesting to say with muscles. Yeah.
Luckily, I met my current girl. I met her when I was smaller. Right.
Right.
She has an MBA. You're from Fordham. You know what I'm saying? She's a smart, intelligent girl.
Right.
Like, I don't know if she'd be into me like if we just met now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
People will judge you. I also say for every new access to women or whatever you get, if you have things that you can show off, you also turn off all the cool girls who are like, automatically are like, anybody who drives a Lamborghini is douchey. And so, you got to live your life. You're going to annoy some people. Don't worry about that. I know it sounds cheesy, but the older I get, the more I'm like, figure yourself out quick. Mm-hmm. That's one of my big things. Know yourself. Then ally yourself with people that respect that. And then let the chips fall where they may. Yeah. You're going to lose some people if you put on muscle. So you got to know yourself. Look, you look at yourself in the mirror. Am I built to be a big dude? Some people are never going to be that big without. So you look at yourself. Okay, this is in my potential. You put on muscle. You know you're going to lose some girls and you're going to gain some. But you know what? That's where you go. I call that destiny. Everybody has to find their destiny. So your destiny is different than mine. You obviously are following your destiny. You're like, I'm not only going to be successful in life, but I'm also going to show it with muscle.
Right, yeah.
And other people's destiny is like Bill Gates. I'm going to show it with software, computers.
Right.
And so as long as you follow that destiny, that's what makes you happy, man.
Yeah, man. Some people are happy, like what's the guy? The Power and Now, right?
Yeah.
That guy, he looks like a fucking hobbit, right? He's just like, but he's happy doing his thing.
Should work out. Everybody should work out a little. That's why I said everybody should juggle 4 things.
Yeah,
health,
man.
wealth, love. Don't be like, you know what? I'm gonna be 6'2", 100. I had a friend. He was 6'4". I weighed him 158 pounds.
Oh.
I said, listen, man, that's weird. Wait.
You gotta
put on, and he put on 30 pounds.
Oh, that's good.
He started eating tuna. He just ate tuna and lifted weights until he put on. He's like 190, which is more normal.
The hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yep. Biological needs is number one for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So if you're out of shape, if you're not at least healthy, then you're all fucked up, right? Then I don't remember them in order, but it's I know physical needs are number one.
Sun, air. You cover somebody's mouth, they're not going to care about their car.
Nah,
they're not going to care their girlfriend either. They're like, so I think energy and heat is the first one. If the sun shuts off, you'll be dead about as quick as air. If it drops to negative 30 degrees, you'll be dead real quick. So, yeah, you just I like that. That's called misweighting bias. A lot of people are doing the wrong things. They forgot to take care of their body, and they're working on, their public speaking.
Right,
like,
right.
no.
Well, yeah, because
don't have a heart attack.
Because people are going to judge you, like, you know, from people going to, the way you command a room is, you know, when you're a public, you do public speaking, like, you know, it's a lot of it, your physical presence has a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You want that. Don't get me wrong. Public speaking is important. It's just not more important than, you know, preventing heart attack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because
you don't want to be the richest man.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs said something I always remember. I didn't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. You don't want to be the richest, or you don't want to be the buffest, richest, you know, most women guy in the graveyard. You'd rather try to be above ground when you're getting your stuff. That's hard enough.
Yeah.
The good news, everybody watching, if you're watching this, you're probably a survivor. If you're over 15, even over 5. So I tell people, be more. There's a lot of optimism. I meet people. I rarely meet somebody that I think that person could never be successful. Most of the time, I'm like, that person has so much learned helplessness that they've decimated the chances. They got cancer, basically cancer of the brain. If you could go in, though, and cut it out, they'd be able to recover.
Oh, man, like, we're living in the best times. Like, you know, like, historically, it's the most prosperous. Humans are living longer, healthier lives than they have in, you know, the entire history of humanity, right? There's lots to be
and you flew here
optimistic about.
from New York. Like Louis C.K. has that hilarious thing. He goes, you know, how quickly we're not thankful for things we never even had before. He said to go from New York to London, he said he had a friend call him and go, you know, oh, it's the worst day of my life. I was stuck at the airport for 3 hours. And he said, how you just flew in a chair through the air.
Yeah.
He said people should be screaming the whole time. I'm in a chair in the air.
Yo, man, like fucking, like, I don't know, you just like, I counted like 10 people here, right? Like, half of us would have died of polio 100 years ago or something, you know? Like
absolutely. My grandma, when she was little in Germany, there was a recession after World War I. She said we ate carrot soup for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You turn orange, she said. She said she came to the United States on a boat. She came in 1939, and she didn't know anyone. She got into college, and that was the first time she ever saw somebody eat 2 eggs for breakfast.
Yeah.
And she said they had 2 eggs on their plate and didn't finish them.
Yeah.
She said she almost fainted. Somebody's like, she said, where I was growing up, it's like he's scarfing down. So
I saw your video you talked about.
yeah, we have food. You have food. Be happy. If you're healthy and you're on the rise, you're good. Just stay on the rise.
You got to control it. Like, people, they're so quick to just let their circumstances control their emotions.
helpless.
You know what I'm saying? Or just take over.
You know what you start doing? Start doing this. Will blow your mind. Every time you're talking to somebody and that you get that vibe, just say, you're in scarcity. When somebody starts saying, well, the government is that, then you go, you're in a scarcity situation. If someone goes, well, you know, I'm super jealous of this girl I'm dating. I don't really know her, but maybe she's gonna like her. I'm like, you're in scarcity. You're thinking she's the only girl. If somebody's like, you know what, Ty, this business I started, it failed. You're in scarcity because you're thinking you can't start another one. The only true scarcity in the world is death. Then it's over.
Yeah.
But then I go, when I meet people that go, man, you know, my grandma, I'm in Germany, I've got nothing, not enough food. I come to America, all of a sudden it's like, she saw the abundance was potential, but she did the work. She got on a boat. I look up to my grandma. She's 96. Get on the boat. See, people go, you can't get from scarcity to prosperity without getting on a boat and doing something.
Right.
So you got to conquer that fear and do it.
Action.
Be more afraid of being on the decline than having a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Just the ride.
As long as you're moving up, it can always get worse. And like sometimes that it can always get worse.
Ask Neanderthals. They don't even exist on the planet. Not only can it be worse for you, your whole species can be wiped off the planet. So I forget who it was. That's one thing I like, Kanye or Jay-Z or someone. It's like, as long as you're above ground. It's a good day.
Yeah.
It's a good day. Chief Tecumseh, the Native American that had a great poem that I memorized. He has one line where he says, "Give thanks when you rise in the morning. Give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason to give thanks, the fault lies only in yourself." Like if you're up and you've got food and you've got living, then I know I've been on the couch. But you know what? Looking back, it wasn't that bad. It was at least a couch.
Yeah.
It was a mobile home, but at least there wasn't a tornado blowing it away.
I don't know where I read this. I don't know where it's from, but it's like a philosopher was talking. This farmer came to this philosopher and said, "Listen, man, my kids are acting crazy, and you know my wife's bugging me, and we need to do house. Our house is not big enough. And he said, all right, cool. Don't even trip. This is what you want. This is what I want you to do. Get all your animals. Bring them into the house, move them in for a week, and then come see me. And then he said, man, it's even worse, man. It's worse than it was. I don't think this is working. And then he said, all right, now let the animals out, and then come back in a week. He said, and the guys come back and said, oh man, everything's great now. We have so much room.
Yeah, exactly. That's contrast bias.
Yeah,
that's where the brain, it's like you forget. That's why I said, if you incrementally, man, if you're measuring, like, you know, I don't know if you do measurements. If you're
measure everything. That's one of my big things.
Your biceps and you start out little, 11 inch, and then you just 11 3/4, 12, even you're happy. You're like, boom, I see it. You'll keep working out. But if you go up, then you rip a muscle, tear a muscle.
Yeah.
That's what happened to my dad. The only time I ever saw my dad stayed great shape till about 68 years old. Then he hurt his thumb, couldn't lift.
Oh, and he went backwards.
And man, and then you can get in a tailspin.
Yeah.
He never got big again. I mean, he was like in his 70s, so he did good.
It's hard to get back.
But my point is, it's like, that's what you were saying. If you try to go too big, if your goal is, I got 11-inch biceps, oh, I'm going to work out, so 1 year from now I'm going to have 15. First of all, you can't. Yeah. Really, I mean, unless you're built, you're not going to put on 4 inches in 1 year. And you run the risk of tearing a muscle. Then what happened, we all know, I did this with basketball. You know, I still play a lot of basketball. I played at one of the big high schools in the U.S. And so I've always been good at basketball. I didn't play, though, for a year or two. I was really busy in business. Me and my friend Jeremy that was here, we're like, let's go play at UCLA. I got to get back in shape. And I was playing on the courts, and I was thinking, Tai, don't go this hard. But these guys pissed me off. They cheated on the score.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, we're going to whip their ass. Yeah. So I go hardcore. So I go up for a rebound. My friend comes underneath me, and my bone, you know, your bones harden up with going on a court. I hadn't gone on a court, and I'd only been playing for a week. Man, I hit the ground and I snapped my bone, man. This thing stuck out. Like, you
got to build your way up. It didn't
come out of the skin, but it came, my skin was like, quink, out. So my point is, I should have taken 3 months, just played. Yeah. Just play 21, just chill, just play, shoot a little bit. Let the bones harden up.
Right.
Like
Get used to it. Yeah,
like Mother Nature's a bad teacher. She has no forgiveness. If you rush her, she will destroy you. And it took me a year to be able to jump again. And you know, it's funny. Only now, a few years later, can I jump like I used to jump.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? If I had just taken 1 month to harden up my bones, that's what the doctor said. He's like, dude, you hadn't played for a year. It takes a month or two to catch up. I lost a year and a half or 2 years.
Warren Buffett says, No, some things just take time. You no matter how many women you have sex with, it takes 9 months to have a baby.
Exactly.
You can't have a baby. You know, I think it's more like you can't have a baby in a month by having sex with a woman 9 times. Right. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's like anything. I do martial arts. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Those guys, the average black belt takes 8 to 15 years because you got to get muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like in a fight, you ever seen a guy who knows how to like box a little bit? Then when he gets in a fight, he's like, like that. That's because he didn't have muscle memory. To be able to stay in control, like if you met Mike Tyson in a fight, you were in trouble.
Yeah.
Because even out on the street, that guy would hold his distance. You ever see that? There was an article I saw a long time ago. A former boxer, picked a fight with Mike Tyson on the streets. Man, I have never, and they showed a picture of the guy. Mike Tyson, no charges against him because the guy threw the punch first.
Oh, okay.
And the other guy was a pro boxer. He hit that dude so hard, I've never seen a face. You know how like you'll get like an inflated, like you'll get, this guy's face, he looked like a clown face.
Really?
And so the point is, you want to be somebody that's put in the time. So when the time comes and somebody steps in front of you, and it's of course figuratively, I'm not talking about punching people in the face, but when life comes, you can step up and you have the muscle memory to hold the control. Because in business, I'm telling you, you can go up, there will be something happen that wants to bring you down. And if you have no practice and you're a newbie, you'll start, like that. And some dude, Mother Nature will come right through the center and pop you right in the face. The next thing you know, you'll wake up on the ground. Again.
It's like your car, right? The faster you go, the more you have to be in control of the wheel.
Exactly.
Because like just messing up a little bit, you'll go way off. But if, you know what I'm saying,
Exactly.
when you're going slow, you have time to adjust.
Yep.
But the faster you're going, the more
Don't
you
have
need
a
to be in
first
control.
car as a Lamborghini. My
Nah,
brother's like,
don't
my
learn
brother's
on a
20.
Lambo.
It's like, I'm like, you'll never drive this. You do a couple car crashes and he's got my aunt gave him. Hey, my first car, man, was the worst car. My mom gave me a 1981 Toyota Civic or a Corolla, whatever it was. Had a hole in the floor when you were driving.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was afraid to drive it fast because if you miss the gas pedal, your foot will go through the floor, chop off. It's 2 colors. It was a bad car, but step by step.
Yeah, man.
And then you have a good story, too.
Yeah,
you have
man.
to have a good story. If you don't have a couch story, no one will respect you. So if you don't have a story like, I used to
Exactly.
be skinny, people would beat me up, and now I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's a better story.
That's a better story. That's why like everybody tell me how bad it is. I'm like, yo, listen, the obstacles are what's gonna make your like if you climb to the okay, for example, if you watch a basketball game, it goes
Yep.
series, game 7, triple overtime, we say that was a good fucking
Exactly.
game. But if one team just sweeps the
Yes.
other,
You don't
it's
even
not-
like
yeah,
either
you're
team.
not can't even
Yeah.
watch it. You know,
Yeah.
we want to know your story, man.
And-
Without Joker, Batman is just a weirdo in a cape.
And also, you know, it's interesting. This Daniel Kahneman, this Nobel Prize winning scientist, he said there's 2 types of happiness. So there's what he calls in the moment happiness. So that's like you buy a cool thing. So you're happy right then. But that's only half your happiness. The other half is memory happiness. So you have to be able to look back and go, I had an obstacle and I rose above it. So that's why rich, you know, I didn't have rich parents, but I know guys that parents were rich, they're not happy because they have no contrast. They're like spoiled brats. And you can see.
You need that.
You could see, like, I wouldn't want to be that kid that was sad that he didn't have a BMW at 16. Like, you don't want to be that kid.
I think Galileo said, nothing is more hard to bear than the succession of fair days.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to have bad days. You have to be able to contrast it. Like that's the beauty. Like if it rains, I don't know. The weather here in California is beautiful, right? I appreciate it more because I just stepped out of a blizzard.
That's why if you live in California, you have to really train your brain to not expect it. So I like try to search for memories because I lived in New York. I've been in. So I search for my brain for contrast.
Yeah.
And go, oh man, I remember, man, when I was on a farm, I had to work 12 hours a day. It's one thing to live in a cold city when you live in the city.
Yeah.
It's another thing to do it in the farm. So now when it's warm here, I'm like, man, I remember, you know, frostbite almost. So you need those contrasts. So that's why I said slow rise, prepare once in a while to jump, boom, slow rise, boom, boom. And it's not that slow. And I also tell people, you have nothing else to do with your life anyway.
Yeah, the time's gonna go anyway.
If you instantly get everything you want, you know what you're gonna be doing? You're gonna sit in a nice house, go, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You still have to pass life.
Yeah, it's like these millionaires or billionaires. He's like, man, you would think he'd had enough. You would think
Right.
Larry Ellison would just chill, right? But it's not.
I have
Yeah.
billionaire friends, business partners. You don't always want to be the billionaire. I have plenty of billionaires that I would not trade life. They would trade for mine, but I wouldn't want theirs. And it's not because I'm smarter than them, but you got to juggle 4 things, the 4 pillars
Right.
of life. You just juggle that money one, it's awesome. There's no doubt. And they are happier than if they weren't juggling any of them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't juggling any. So if you're not juggling any, money's better than 0. Health is better than 0.
Yeah.
But man, don't be a one-trick pony.
Look.
4 things.
I'm not a millionaire, right? I'm not a millionaire. Full disclosure. But I have a friend. He has a $3 million business. He's doing really well. But it's like it's like he doesn't really love it, and
Yeah.
it's 80 hours a week kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's like I wake up when I want. Like he would love to wake up where I want, like me, or like to spend time doing something I enjoy.
Golden handshake. Yeah, the golden handcuffs.
Come out to California for a week.
Yeah.
Just because I can, like he doesn't have these kind of options.
Right.
So even though I'm not a millionaire, my lifestyle, I wouldn't trade my lifestyle for his money.
Exactly.
But he would.
So do those mental games with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't just admire somebody for just one thing. You see somebody just in good shape, look for the people, and they're harder to find, but they're out there. There's people. My first mentor, Joel Salatin, that's a man. He's into health. He's one of the pioneers in grass-fed beef and all this stuff. He's healthy. He's wealthy. He's got love, you know. He has real love, all those things, families, admiration. And he's happy. He says, I tap dance. He basically tap dance out of bed. That's the people I admire.
Yeah.
I do learn from billionaires, and I want to learn, but in terms of the whole, you gotta have your cake and eat it too, man.
Yeah, sometimes you read like, I don't know, it seems like a lot of billionaires are unhappy. Like not to say all of them, but like when you read some of the stuff, like they're like yelling at, they're always screaming,
Right.
yelling at their employees. I don't know, man. I don't.
Warren Buffett's a happy guy.
Yeah, Warren Buffett.
Buffett's happier.
Like he's a good example.
Yeah,
he's like a really good example.
I think Elon Musk is cool
Yeah, he seems like
from
a
the
good
sense
example.
that I think Richard Branson seems like he likes his life. And
If
has a
anyone
cool
is
life.
him. If anyone's
Yeah.
him.
So, and also I found there's about 800 self-made billionaires now. That's discounting from some countries that they can't verify. So there's a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not a competition. Don't compete with other people. Compete with your own capacity.
Exactly.
Like I see some people, I'm not going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was not born with that fate. I didn't have that destiny. Even if I had worked out the same as Arnold, some people have that endomorph body type. They're naturally stockier.
Yeah.
Like you're never, you take a super stocky guy and he lifts weights the same as you for the rest of life, eats the same, he's going to beat you.
Yeah.
So you have to find what your thing, and the good news is in a world of 7.3 billion people, you can always find one thing that you uniquely stand out. Small
man.
or big.
And you can be, and the world is so big that like, I mean, there's competition, but it's not, there's enough, man. There's enough for you to get yours. You know what I'm saying?
When people start going, oh, this guy's going to make money, I don't really like it, let me pursue. Just remember, that's what I was saying. Homework. If I'm allowed to give homework to anyone watching, start calling out the scarcity. Don't say it to them. You don't want to be annoying and pissing people off. Just say it to yourself. That's scarcity.
Yeah. Or even like with YouTube, man. Like some people won't help others. Like my friend, like one of my boys, he was asking me he was starting this channel. He was asking me for all this advice and stuff. I just gave it to him, everything he did. Now his channel's almost beat mine. If I look at the trajectory, he's gonna pass me, right? Yep. And that's cool, man, because like
you'll be fine. There's so much on YouTube.
Yeah,
the YouTube volume out there.
His success doesn't affect me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And even if it does, let's just say you could have made $30 million just keeping it all to yourself, and now you're gonna make $25 million. Your life will be the same. You will. There's no difference. Now, if you gave him something that made him 1,000 million
or a proprietary secret.
Yeah,
you know
don't be stupid. Like you could be smart, but I'm just saying the general thing. Be generous, but even more importantly, treat people like they treat you.
Yeah.
Start out nice. If you give to people and they stop giving to you, nip it in the bud. You don't have to be, unless you want to be a saint, which I'm not trying to be. I'm more about fair. You start out nice to all. That's game theory. Another Nobel Prize winning thing. Start out nice and then reciprocate. If you do something nice for somebody and they stop doing stuff nice, then just cut them out of your life.
Yeah.
So you want to give, but that's why, I get people sometimes I had a guy on YouTube recently. I just started calling these people out. He said, dude, if you really want to help the world, why don't you give everything away free? I said, number one, I don't say the only thing I'm doing is for other people. I say 50-50. Number two, what have you ever given me for free? So I'm like, stop whining and send me something because I have 300 hours of stuff. Number four, you get what you pay for sometime. So some of my best stuff, I charge for, but I have a rule. As long as I charge 1/10 of what it's actually worth. So if it's worth 1,000, I charge 100. That's a good deal. But if I give it to you for free, now I'm teaching you to be entitled, learn helplessness. I've already tested. If I do a conference and I give the tickets away free, half those people don't get out of bed in the morning because they don't have the incentive. So I didn't help them or myself. It's a Pareto inefficiency. If I charge them $100, they'll show up at the conference. They'll get $10,000 worth of value from the speakers. They're happier. We made enough money to pay for the damn thing. And so I just shut people down. Stop whining, man.
I don't think they understand this fucking servers cost money, man. Like if I put up something for you to download, like that wasn't like free for me to put, like Amazon.
Just like, stop listening.
Like the servers cost me money every time you download something.
And if you don't think it's fair, then you can do what all of us can do in a free world. Go listen to all the free stuff. I don't even justify it that much, but I sometimes people piss me off so much. I'm like, once a month I got to justify morons' brains to them. Do what's fair to people. And I believe in one thing that I do believe, even if you're not moral, not religious, you're a pure atheist, whatever, it still generally pays off to do unto others what you want them to do to you. So you know what? If I meet another man, if I show up at his house and he's like, hey man, I'm having dinner, and he gives me dinner, okay, I'm not going to show up the next night and be like, hey, is dinner served? Because now because now you're disrespecting a man.
Yeah.
You don't disrespect somebody like that, because I don't want someone to do. I don't mind someone. I had some guests randomly from my conference that happened to be here, and they wanted to eat. I open up my house for them. Be generous, but you don't have to be. What Chief Tecumseh also said in that poem: respect all men and women, but grovel to none. I'm not bowing. That's what I wrote that guy. I was like, do you think I'm your servant? You've sent me nothing. I've sent you 100 hours. How about this? I'll ban you from my channel till you send me 100 hours of cool stuff. Fair is fair.
You give out a lot of free. You know what I'm saying? I know.
I'm like, I literally have 500 hours of free stuff. Don't call me out. If you're Mother Teresa, you can call me out. If you're Martin Luther King Jr., you can call me out. You can be like, I've helped 10,000 people, 10 million people, Ty.
Yeah.
You've only helped this many. Then I'm like, that's fair. But don't be that's a taker.
Yeah.
And and scientist, Dr. David Buss, one of the most respected scientists, said they've now studied that. It's called WTRs, welfare trade-off ratios. Basically meaning you want to be around people where the ratio's fair. They look out for your welfare, you look out. But if somebody goes, give me 10 times in a row, and they give one back, he said that's a imbalance.
Yeah.
He said those people almost inevitably will be horrible in the short and long term in your life. Everybody's dated someone like that. You have dated somebody where you did a lot and they did nothing, and you stayed in the relationship like a dummy. I've done that. And then you look back later and you're like, I should have listened to Dr. David Buss. Somebody not willing to meet me 50-50, why would I want to be around them?
Yeah.
Like, cut. I'm telling you, cut people like.
It's like, I feel like I get that too. Like, why don't you give your program away for free? I was like, well, I do give away a lot of free stuff, and you gotta understand.
Just tell them, send me something free, and then I will. That's what I do. Send me something that's worth $100, and then I'll give you my $100 program free. Fair. And then when they do what I'll do. Hey, anybody watching this, if I have something that's $100, you send me something that's worth $100, and you know what you could send? Money is worth $100, or you could send something. I have no problem. Some guy wrote me, hey man, I'm a physical therapist. Can I trade? I'm like, that sounds fair. Sure. I'm not all about money. I'm like, somebody's like, I've had people be like, hey, I don't have much money, but I'm a cook or something, or I don't have much money, but I have these books, and if you bought them, they're worth about $100. I'll send them to you. I'm like, sure. I'll need money. Everybody should be respected. Don't let people disrespect you. And in a world of 7.3 billion people, this is getting worse. And people are growing up more entitled, narcissists. That's what psychologists call it. Narcissism is rooted in a sense of entitlement. Once you see, if I sit here with you and I think you owe me something, I'm going to treat you differently.
Right.
But I don't. We're two men. We sit in a chair. I'm learning stuff from you. You're learning stuff. As long as you have that respect, you have a good relationship. Just keep it that way. Stay on your toes. And you know what? People don't want to do this because it forces them to stay on their toes. Sometimes I look at my friendships and I'm like, I'm not giving enough. It's time for me to step up. But every once in a while, I do the reverse. I call, and I recommend, as if you're an adult watching this or even under, give people a chance. Call them into your room. Call them and be like, hey man, listen, I like you. We're friends, dating, friendship, whatever it is. Family, you can do this with family. But listen, I've now learned that everything's got to be fair. So we should do this. If we can't be fair, let's just not hang out that much. But I don't want that. So how can we get in a more fair relationship? Because you don't want to keep track of every little thing, okay? Because that can get weird.
Yeah.
It's not like I go out to dinner with my friends and sometimes I pay and sometimes they pay. I don't have a journal. But I'll tell you this. If I have a dude I've taken out to dinner and he's never offered for 1 year, you're not coming back.
Right.
I'll do parties I stopped doing parties at my house. You know why? Because I didn't wake up feeling good. And I would have, my house can hold about 400 to 500 people, okay? I'll get on exactly 1% of people will send thank yous the next day.
Really?
Just text. I'm not even talking about a card. 1%. For 500 people, I'll usually get 5 texts.
You know what?
So I was like, why don't I just invite those 5 people and have a smaller party?
Exactly.
You'd be better off partying with 5 people that have your back than 495 people that I have an open bar. I've got everything. I have billionaire people want business connections. People come in here, make connections. They don't even have the decency to write. I'm like, you know what you deserve? Nothing. To get what you want, you have to deserve what you want.
My mom once told me, and I always remember this, like, and if you want to have good friends, you got to be a good friend.
Exactly.
Like you said, you got to deserve it. You got to deserve
because
good friends.
all the good friends, all the good people, the second you're disrespectful, they just hang out with themselves.
Yeah, if you're a good friend, you don't want to be with you don't want to have a bunch of bad friends.
And also good people. It's like rich people. I've learned this. If you piss off a billionaire, he never needs to hang out with you. Yeah. I've hung out with billionaires. If you are a dick, they're not going to be like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills tomorrow if I don't hang out with Ty. They're just like, they won't always yell at you. Yeah. They'll just go delete from your contact. Then when you text them, they're like, who is this? And then when you say Ty, they're like, they don't reply. They delete again. So that's what I said. As you're on the rise, everything gets better. You attract better people to date, marry, friends, business, customers. That's why all you have to do, the simplest thing to take away from this, stay doubling down on yourself. If you're too stupid, I'm not asking you to invest in us. You can buy, we have stuff for sale. Go check out my 67 steps. I got free book a day. But most importantly, I don't need your money and you don't need me. If I die, you'll be fine without me. If you die, I'll be fine without you. But we can be a coalition. We can be allies. So I'm saying, here's my ally advice to you. Find something that makes you a little wiser, a little smarter, a little healthier. If you're too dumb for that, and I don't believe you are, you wouldn't be watching this now. You're probably smarter than me. Do it more. Yeah. If you read 1 book a year and you're like, wow, that was helpful, read 2 books a year. And if you're already reading 1 book a month, I tell people, read 2 books a month. It's realistic. I call it the 24 club. If you can't be in the 24, if you don't respect your own brain, 2 books. You don't even have to read every page. Get 2 new books a month. You can buy them used on Amazon. A used books now with shipping costs $5. Invest $10 a month into yourself. The average person spends $80 now a month on coffee.
Is that right?
Even broke people are, you know what happens though? And I'm going to end in this because I know I'm long-winded. I don't want to take too long. There's only one way you get wealthy. And people argue with me, but they don't think. You spend. Here's what I mean. People are spending average American $80 a month on coffee. Guess who's one of the richest men in the world? Starbucks owner. So you spent your money on stuff, it created wealth. So your spending created wealth, but you didn't capture it.
Right.
All you got was expensive coffee that you could have made for 50 cents or whatever on your own. That would have been probably better. But he got richer. That's the thing.
Or if you spend your time on Facebook.
Exactly.
Zuckerberg.
Who's the other richest guy in the world? Mark Zuckerberg. Right. So the 3 rarest things in your life will always be these 3. Time, you can never get it back. Energy, it's hard to get back. And we represent that in the modern world with money. So you're going to spend your time. The average person spends almost as much time. If Facebook was a religion, it'd be the 3rd biggest religion by minutes spent after Christianity and Islam. So that's how much. And guess what? So you're spending your time, definitely your energy, because people are thinking and arguing. You see people arguing on Facebook. And
stop doing that.
Yeah.
Don't. That's my rule. Don't argue with people you don't know
exactly.
about shit that doesn't matter.
Don't get it. There's on my TEDx talk, if you check it out, there is a dude who has started an argument that the world is not abundant. This is his argument, okay?
And it's like a long thread. He's been arguing this for
There's
weeks.
like 200 or more replies. I became a fool. I got brought down to his level for 1 minute. I wrote a comment, and then he didn't even read what I wrote. He was like, I thought it was a robot guy, but he's still commenting away. And I'm thinking, you are right. There's no money in the world for you, buddy, because you're on YouTube. And guess who owns YouTube?
Yeah.
Google. And guess who owns Google? 2 of the richest men in the world. You're spending your time and energy and money that you could have been making money for yourself. So spend on yourself, but not McDonald's, not just Starbucks, not just Lamborghinis. Spend stuff that gets in your brain. You can't take it away. Cool.
Yep.
That's my closing thing. I see you there, Nathan.
Yo, please, like if you haven't already, check out Ty's. Subscribe to Ty's YouTube. It's amazing. I'm a subscriber. I watch Ty's videos. You know, like so.
Man, I can't stand watching my own videos. I'll have to say, I can't do.
I like watching mine.
You do?
Yeah, man, I'm killing it. I'm killing this shit, bro. I'm good at this shit.
There's my own videos with my video editors. I'm like, dude, I don't have that.
You know what? No, you know what? That's bullshit. Because you know what I like about your videos is you'll talk and it'll be one take.
That's all mine because I can't stand to hear myself that much.
Is that
I just shoot one time and I'm like, they're like, you need to shoot it 20 times. I'm like, no. I'm done. I'm an action dude. So I'm like, I'm not gonna spend. Yeah, see, you're more perfectionist, man.
Virgos is that Virgo.
Aries is more like, we want to conquer the day.
But that's my like goal. I wanted like you and Ellie Host, you guys do just videos and I feel like that's a talent, man. Like I guess you know what? You turned your weakness into a strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do, if you watch my YouTube or my Instagram or Twitter, one thing I tell people, completely free. Go to tailopez.com and join my book of the day. Because a lot of people don't want to read. I read a book a day and I send it. Sometimes I miss a few days. I send a little quick review.
Book of the most days.
Yeah, book of the most days. But it's the book that I read that day and you can just read real fast through me. But I basically go, listen, I just share my life.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some people don't. It's shot a lot with my iPhone. I have expensive cameras, but I figure I'm going to Lamborghini, I'll put a little GoPro going.
Yeah.
You know, so it's raw and I speak my mind, so don't get too mad at me. Just unsubscribe if you don't like my stuff. You don't have to scream. You know what my friend told me?
What was that?
Everybody's 10 foot tall behind a YouTube comment.
Oh man, these guys.
But you know these guys wouldn't say this to your face.
Look, man. Every time I meet almost. It's getting to the point where almost every day I meet somebody who's, hey, you Brandon Carter, and I'm like, and it's good, and they're all happy. I never meet those guys who were calling me a dumb nigger. Where's that guy? How come he never says what's up? How come he never, who the guy who's gonna whip my ass? Where's he at?
Yeah, no.
Guys are being inconsistent.
People, everybody's 10 foot tall behind a YouTube comment. Like that's not hard. Some of these, I'm like, these might be 8-year-old kids.
Yeah, man. I mean, these guys.
So you know, Ellen DeGeneres, she just disables comments. I saw her do that.
Oh, really?
Like,
yeah.
You know what? That might be a good thing.
You know, Seth Godin's blog where you can't comment.
Yeah.
And I like he's in my RSS feed, and there's no comments. You know what I do? I mean, if somebody's acting real crazy, like I ban people. I just ban. Yeah.
Hey, some people are like, don't delete comments. It's my channel. I'll do whatever I want. I'm like, it's my life. It's just like you come in my house. If I don't, dude, I know a girl, very beautiful girl here in LA. She came over, dude, right when she walked in, I was eating dinner, and she's really pretty and kind of not super, she's famous. I got a lot of famous neighbors. She came in here like it was her house. Oh, and I remember eating and going, oh, this is gonna not end well because I'm an Aries. We have tempers, man. Yeah. So I'm respectful. She came in my house. I'm like, you want to eat? She started that. I was like, I just got up. I was like, you know what? Let me walk you out. It'll be good. I'm gonna say, let me walk you out of this thing real quick before it escalates and you have your bodyguards. I was like, hey, it's my house. Let's just go. I didn't call her a name. Yeah. So on my YouTube channel, if someone's, I'm like, it's bad energy.
Yeah, you don't want.
I don't even want people. The guy, I actually feel bad for that guy. I don't want to facilitate. No, and I don't want to facilitate him being able to do that energy. So I'm just like, ban. Just like I'd be like, leave my house.
They'll distract.
And I don't get many. Yeah. And the thing is, it's disproportionate. You get 1,000 people who have something. And I tell people, I don't get mad if people disagree. You can disagree because I'm just a normal dude. But you have to give a reason. What I don't like is people just, that's wrong.
Or at least be constructive. Yeah. Right. Calling me names is not constructive.
Yeah, well, if someone called me a racial slur, I'd be like, I'm going to find your IP address. I'll send someone knock on your door. Just to wake you up. It's like, that's better.
Me, I just block it because that would be a distraction. Like,
I wouldn't
videos
really do
about
that. You're going to think this thing about my dad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad. My dad had a temper. My dad would not. My mom took me away real young because my dad would not. I'm not like that. I'm not violent like that.
It's all good, man. Like I would say just delete it. Just because you might have a video where you're trying to make a point, right?
Yeah.
But then this guy talks about something else, and then people start commenting on that, but it distracts from your point.
Exactly.
It's like
disagree
that's a
all
distraction.
you want.
Yeah.
People can come in my house and be like, you know what, Ty? I was seeing your stuff. I was thinking about it. I read a book that was saying the opposite. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's constructive. Like you know, I've learned stuff from my you know what I'm saying, from my fans. I found about you from them, man.
I learned a lot, man. One thing I've learned, you know, I'm a pretty smart guy. I've been in Mensa since I was a 6-year-old, but man, you can learn. Even somebody who's not an IQ genius, there's a lot of people with life. I had this guy at my dinner table. He's had a lot of hard life, he said, but this guy's on the rise, and he doesn't have book knowledge. He's like from construction background. I learned tons of stuff.
Yeah, man.
So I'm like, you have to stay humble.
Yeah.
The second you get too cocky, the world will take you out real quick.
But
also, make people respect you.
Yeah.
That's the only rule.
Yeah.
Respect, and I'm always trying to do fair. I'm like, am I respecting this guy back? Okay, I'm respecting him. Then we're good.
Let go of your, you know, that's another thing. I try not to be I try to take things into account. Like first one, like what does Socrates say? You know what I'm saying? Like I know that I know nothing.
Right.
And that's the meaning of true knowledge. You know. So
Yeah,
like
well,
I try to
know. I mean, like, look, you know a lot.
Yeah.
You know a lot, but it's a big world.
be open. Be open.
Yeah.
Be open. You know what I'm saying
Nobody.
to different ideas. Be open to new. What you get if you get some new information, then you should you should be if it conflicts with your convictions, then let go. You know what I'm saying?
Friedrich Nietzsche, the great
Convictions
philosopher,
are
said,
the enemies.
convictions are greater enemies of the truth than lies.
Yeah.
Cool. We better
Man.
wrap. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
that
man.
was
Appreciate
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man. That was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it was.